in Washington, D.C., the capital of the Empire of Lies. 105.5 FM, AM 1390. Joined now from Russia by Dutch journalist Sonja van den Ende. Sonja, how you doing?
Fine, thanks. Nice to be on your show again, Lee. Thanks.
Good. We're very happy to have you, Sonja. So you saw the news yesterday. The New York Times reported that the U.S. believes that Ukraine is behind the assassination of Daria Dugina. You saw that, right?
Yeah, sure, I saw it. But actually, I had to laugh because, it's commonly known that the CIA is in Ukraine and the Zelensky regime is taking orders from CIA or the US. So, yeah, of course, they can say Ukraine is behind this. Yes, they carried it out. But yeah, the real perpetrator behind it, I think it's the US, of course, in collaboration with the UK, I must say, because they also play a very decisive role there.
So I was going to ask you, actually, why do you think the New York Times reported that? That's a big admission for the Times to make. The Times is a very pro-Ukrainian paper. And for them to admit that, it's now established, it's now inarguable that Ukraine was behind that. Why do you think that came out in the New York Times? Do you think it was to get the U.S. off the hook?
Yeah, sure. They don't want to let it be known that they are actually, the leaders of the Ukrainian government, because Zelensky is just a puppet. They want to get off the hook because, when they straight away, when it's known that the US is actually the one who gave the order, then yeah, I mean, we're already maybe on the brink of a World War III, so that will ignite everything. So they want to settle things down, I think, to let it a bit easy and say, okay, Ukraine has done it. That's what I think. Why they did it, why they put it in the New York Times.
While the New York Times is acknowledging that assassination, they're not really talking about the assassination list that includes Roger Waters from Pink Floyd and a 13-year-old girl. And I believe you, Sonja, correct? You're on the kill list, correct?
Yes, I'm on the kill list as well. And of course, what you said, Vania, the 13-year-old girl, and Roger Waters, and many more journalists who have ever been to the Donbass are there. But it's in the West, it's not, they don't speak about it. I think they don't care about it. Or maybe they say, oh, it's collateral damage, they're on the list. That's their own fault because they are the ones who went to Ukraine. But actually, it's shameful, of course, to put a girl on the list. This is, okay, we are journalists, we are grown-ups, but to put a girl on the list, that's crazy. It's criminal. It's criminal. It's no other words for that.
And Sonja, has the Dutch government done anything? Has there been any outrage that you're on the list? Because I'm outraged, but by the government.
No, nothing. And even in my own country, there's nothing. Nobody speaks about it. Maybe one in the opposition party. Yeah, okay, he said, okay, it's horrible, but the rest, it's nothing. Newspapers, nothing. I get many calls from newspapers in the Netherlands, and then I tell them, I want to speak to you, but you must, mention that I'm on this Ukrainian kill list. But I don't want to speak about that. I want to speak out your personal motive, why you went there, about your personal life. And then I said, okay, thank you. But they don't speak about it. It's an outrage. It's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. And as I say, so no one's spoken up about this outrage, journalists on a kill list?
No, nobody in the West is speaking about it, not in the European Union, not in EU governments, because there's one from Finland, I'm from the Netherlands, there's one from France, so we're all EU countries. But nobody says, oh yeah, you have to do something about it. I think they spoke about it a few months ago. I wrote it down somewhere. But they spoke about it in the European Parliament, but okay, that maybe they should do some measures, they should stop this list, they should close it down. But then it started with the special operation, and then yeah, it was off the table. So they use it actually.
Now the U.S. is admitting that Ukraine is behind Dugina's assassination, should journalists be taking this kill list even more seriously? Because I think the fact that Dugina was on it and then she was eliminated from the list after she was killed means I think they people need to take this very seriously. What do you think, Sonja?
Yes, I think so because I did already. I take it seriously. I mean, I always presume and I hope that we are still the ones who are on the kill list are now the majority here in Russia, so that we are pretty safe. But I think we should take it very seriously, yes, because you never know. I mean, okay, it will not happen so quickly anymore. I think. I mean, maybe they are somehow on an alert, but we should take it very seriously. And for instance, I was on this referendum, and there were journalists from Germany and so on. They went back, and of course they will be on the kill list as well. So then it's an extra danger when you go back to Europe, I think, because Europe is collaborating with Ukraine. We know that. So, but we should be more careful. Yeah, but yeah, should look around you, I would say. But yeah, okay, that's all we can do actually.
And the silence on this is very disturbing to me because not just you, but my colleague Wyatt Reed from Radio Sputnik is on that kill list. And it's so I know so many people on that list. That's outrageous. And Igor Lopatnik, the director's doing some work on that. But we'll be talking about it here. But urge every journalist you know, why aren't you talking about the Ukrainian kill list? I want to see Tucker Carlson talk about it more too. So, Sonja, where were you during the referendums?
I was in Luhansk city, and I went to many polling stations, around 10. Also, I was in the Moscow area, Rostov area, because there are a lot of refugees from the Donbass, around 4.4 million, I think, were the latest figures. So I was in Luhansk all day, and yeah, I saw the people voting, and it went quite good. I thought it was a very democratic way how they voted. It was not like, of course, in other countries, because you must understand there was a war 8 years long, but beside that it was done very good, in a very good way, and the people were not threatened, not abused. No soldiers. There were soldiers there. This is what I'm saying all over again. The soldiers were there to protect us, and yeah, to protect actually, of course, the civilians as well, because still Ukraine is shelling some areas, not in Luhansk, but it was done very good.
And what did you see about reporters? Were other reporters there? Any news outlets, Reuters or CNN or so on? Any reporters at all?
No, no, nothing from the West. Straight away they said on before already that it was a fake referendum, a sham, and so on. So no, we only, yeah, alternative media, but from the other countries, I would say the friendly countries like Brazil, Venezuela, there were some news outlets. I think Taylor Stewart was there. From Iran, maybe Press TV, they didn't see with me, but some Egyptian was there, but no US or European outlets like what you said, Reuters or CNN. Nobody, of course, nobody was there.
Yes, of course. No one was there because if it was a sham, you'd think they'd bring their cameras and expose it, right? No,
Sure.
apparently not. Sonja, what did you learn from people you spoke to? Did they tell you any stories about how they felt about the referendums or what led up to them in their minds? Any stories from people in the region?
Yeah, I spoke to a lot of people. I always had a translator there, so that was no problem. And the majority I spoke to, they're all very happy because they hope that finally the bloodshed will be gone, that there will be somehow some sort of peace. And some people told me, yes, they were waiting already there on this point for since 2014, and finally it's happening, and such a long time after 8 years of this bloody war. And I even spoke to an old lady. She was very sweet, and she told me her husband was dead, her son was killed in the war, and that that she was waiting for this, and she was crying there, and it was really emotional, I must say, with all these people, especially the elderly people, because a lot of these people lost their whole life, their children, everything. So yes, they were happy, very happy.
And did you get any sense on what the refugees were planning to do? Was some of them planning to go back, or were they planning to stay put?
Well, it was mixed somehow, because some of the refugees were already in Moscow, Rostov, maybe 5, 6 years. So they established their life there. They have a job and so on. But some of them are. That's mainly the elderly again. They would like to go back because it's their homeland. It's where they're born, in their village, and so it was a mixed situation. But they were all very happy that they were able to become Russian. This was the main point for them. They are finally, again, they belong to Russia. This is very happy. They were very happy about it.
And were you out at the big musical event and that Putin spoke at too, the big flag waving event? I think it was in Red Square, correct?
Wasn't Red Square, correct? No, I wasn't there. I would like to go there,
No.
but I just returned, because after we came back from the referendum, I had to do a lot of interviews here in Moscow. So that day I came back actually finally to my apartment. So I couldn't make it, unfortunately, but would have loved to be there on the Red Square, this is for sure.
So what are you hearing from people in Moscow about the way Muscovites feel about the referendums?
Well, again, the majority thinks, that it's a good thing that the referendums are there, and they don't consider them as a sham, because they know, they feel that the people of the Donbass, they are their brothers, their sisters, because they're Russian, and the Russians are a bit like Eastern people. They feel a lot for their people, for their country, and so the majority, I think, of course, I cannot speak for everybody here. It's a very big city, but the people I know, they say, it's a good thing, that we have to do this, because we have to stop this suffering that is already going on for 8 years. That's the general thing what they speak about, the suffering, and to end this war finally.
And you get a sense from people what their take is on the military action at this point in Moscow. Do you get any sense of the public's opinion just from being in Moscow, Sonja?
Well, I must say it's a little bit, what can I say? I think a lot of people are waiting for the continuation of what is now going to happen, because now the 4 areas are, of course, will be part of Russia. So what is the next step? Of course, nobody knows, only the Kremlin knows, only the generals know. Is this a continuation of the special operation, or will it be an anti-terror operation? Because actually it's when the West is, of course, launching an attack on these areas, it's Russian territory. So people, me, myself too, we are actually waiting now to see how it will continue. That it's the whole, you can feel this atmosphere hanging here in Moscow from, well, what is going to happen now? What do we have, the normal continuation, or something else will come?
Because even though Kherson, for instance, is part of Russia, the Ukrainians are pushing with an offensive in Kherson. Have you heard about that, Sonja?
Yeah, sure. That's everywhere in the news. You can hear it, and sometimes you don't know, because there's a lot of propaganda from Western side. Is it really true? Because today I was listening to the update on the special operation, and they said there's a lot of small areas. They pushed the Ukrainians back. So it's of course I don't think Russia will be letting Kherson to be in the hands of the Ukrainians. I think that's not to be done. But I think that that's what I said. We all waiting what is going to happen. So I think personally that there's will be something going on, and because now everything is signed, so now they can maybe plan, or of course they have planned already to make the next move. And for sure, Kherson will not fall in the hands of Ukraine. I cannot imagine this, you know.
No, right. Yeah, I agree. And I think also it's now Russia. So therefore, Ukraine even doing an offensive in Kherson is like them doing an offensive in St. Petersburg or Moscow to some extent. It's in Russia. So you're right. A lot of people, me too, are waiting to see how Russia is going to react. But do you have any sense? People want to see Russia react decisively and clearly, right?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. What I said, we are waiting for this, and of course now the partly mobilization of people have begun. So I think about 200,000 are already drawn up. But yeah, it takes time, of course. I mean, they have to be trained. You know, you cannot send people to a war just like that. So I think it takes all time, and before maybe a big offensive will take place. I don't know, of course. I cannot tell because I don't know about that. But this is actually, I think we are waiting for that something will be happening because I cannot imagine that the Russian government will allow what you said, that the Ukrainians will attack Russia, like St. Petersburg or Moscow, or even the villages alongside the Ukrainian border. So there must be coming something, because otherwise it would be all for nothing. And I cannot imagine that the Russian government thinks like that, you know, that's no, it's impossible. So I think something big will happen, will be happening. I hope soon, but yeah, you
Well,
cannot say.
also, can you imagine there won't be a retaliation from the assassination of Daria Dugina? Because I can't. Now that the New York Times is admitting Ukraine was behind it, I think Russia almost has to act. What do you think, Sonja?
Most likely, yes, I think they will retaliate. I don't know, of course, in what way they will do it, but they have to, you know. They let the perpetrators left. They went to, I think, Latvia of Lithuania, so they cannot catch them. But they're the small fish, you know. They are just the people who did it. But I think they will retaliate in an, yeah, I hope in a good way and decisive way, so that you know the government must know, the government, the puppet regime of Zelensky must know that this was once, but not will not happen twice. Yeah, I think it's all in the pipeline somehow, and yeah, we will see how it will be. We will find out soon, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's sort of a waiting period, the calm before the storm, I think. Do you think that's probably accurate? The calm,
I
we're at the calm before the storm, Sonia?
I think that's like that. You know, I'm not a military specialist, of course, but you know, in all the wars Russia has fought in the past, it was always the winter what was the big enemy of the, you know, like Hitler regime, Napoleon. The winter, it's always a bad thing. Of course, we are now in 2022, so armies will have more gear for winter, and they know they have learned about it. So we must not focus on that totally, but still, I think maybe the winter will be bad for them as well. And you know, the European Union is deteriorating soon because the gas problem is going to be very huge. And also the industries, like in Germany, it's I think 70% are on the brink of bankruptcy. Well, that's a lot. So they have to do something as well. So I think we will see something in autumn, beginning of winter maybe. I hope autumn, because beginning of winter is a long time away, you know. It's 2 months, 3 months, and it can happen a lot.
No, that's right, Sonia. So when are you going back to Donbass? Do you have any
I,
plans?
I have no plans at the moment. It's all uncertain, as you know, because yeah, the special operation is going on, but we don't know, where we can go, how you can go. It's I have to wait a little and to figure out how it's going to develop.
Now, Sonja. Yep. Now, Sonja, forgive me.
No problem. Are you
Uh,
okay?
yeah, I'm okay. Just
Okay.
coughing a little bit here.
Okay.
So, Sonja, what is the economy like that you can see in Moscow?
Well, what I can see, it's still okay. It's still the shops are still filled with everything. The people are going to the shops. Sometimes I go to the shopping malls here, and I have to do my shopping as well. And I make a tour around the city and visit different things. And people are still, what I can see, okay. It's not, nothing has changed since I came here. The only thing that changed, and that is what you know, is what everybody knows, is that the Western shops or companies are closed. Some of them, not all of them. So that's now a normal thing for people. I think it's already 7 months like that, 6 months. So, but what I can see, I can still see, yeah, cars driving around, shops are open. I think people still have work. It's always very busy here in the metro. So, yeah, I don't think a lot of things have changed for the people.
And so life seems to be going on as usual in Moscow.
Yeah, there's no change at all. It's yeah, maybe I'm not also not an economic expert on Russia, but yeah, it's what I can see. It's okay. But now, of course, some things will be changing when I mean 200,000 men, maybe also some women, but mainly men, I think, are mobilized. I think it's only men. What Shogu said. So 200,000 men are mobilized, and maybe 100,000 more. Yeah, then a lot of men will go leave their job. So maybe the women will fill in again. I don't know.
And Sonja,
Yes.
what are you saying? Forgive me, I'm just having a little trouble coughing here.
Yeah. So yeah, not
What are you
good.
saying?
Yes.
No, forgive me.
No
So,
problem.
I heard today on Fox News, I was listening to Fox News, and I heard Putin's army is falling apart. Is that what you're seeing? Because the lies are magnificent over here. It's amazing. Just on Fox, they said blatantly, Putin's army is falling apart. But I don't see that at all. What do you see, Sonja?
I think it's what you said. It's propaganda because they cannot really know. Like me, I cannot even know because we don't see it. But we know that I know that it's not falling apart because otherwise, 200,000 new people, new recruits, and then you have to give them training and you have to, implement them in the army. So it's not falling apart. This is not. I think, the whole thing is that I think that the Russian army didn't even use maybe 1/10 or one quarter of its material or its soldiers or whatever into this conflict. So maybe when they go on full scale, their new missiles will be there or new tanks and so on. So it's all big lies. The propaganda of the West is now also focusing on Putin himself, telling him he must go. Now we heard that before. Assad should go. Now Putin should go. John Bolton said this yesterday. So it's so much propaganda that is really awful. It's unbelievable, actually, because I think sometimes they don't even know what to write anymore.
No, it's a very mixed message and very confusing because Fox, for instance, is pro Trump, but they're anti Russian. And some people, like Tucker Carlson, are sort of pro Russian, but he's anti Ukrainian broadly. but even he doesn't. Forgive me again.
No
But
problem. All the
even
best.
Tucker doesn't know much about Russia. Do you
No,
find that most people in the West are simply ignorant of what reality of things is like in Moscow, Sonia?
sure, yes. A lot of them are, they don't even know, what the problem is, it's in the media, for instance, in the Netherlands, you have this special media, it's called A Window on Russia. And in this media are elderly people in their 60s, 70s, and they write about Russia as if it's still the Soviet Union. So they don't know anything about the modern Russia. They don't know anything. And a lot of people who write about Russia, who are so-called Russian specialists, I doubt if they were here. That is the problem with the media in the West. They just write stories without checking, without verifying. Journalism is something you have to check because otherwise you can write everything down, but they are fairy tales then, and propaganda. But most people don't know anything about Russia. They see Putin, they say, oh, he's like a dictator or he's like Stalin. And they don't even know how the younger people live here, for instance, how modern the city is or the country maybe. I don't know, I didn't travel all the whole of the country, it's too big. But this Moscow or St. Petersburg or it's modern cities with modern buildings, the people, well, if you see young people, they can walk in the West, so they don't know anything. And yeah, people like Tucker Carlson, I think they're trying to be neutral or try to be in favor of Russia, but I think they are afraid to speak out because when you speak out in Western media that you are for Russia, then you are not done, you're out.
And I think Tucker, you mentioned him, we're talking about him. I think him going to Russia would be an amazing thing. It would really change his view because he told me when I went to Beirut, Lebanon in 2013, he told me that Beirut was one of his favorite cities to visit. And isn't that interesting, Sonia, that Tucker Carlson really liked Beirut as a city to visit? He liked the cafe society, sitting out in the cafes and the hookahs
Mhm.
and the hummus and everything. You've been over there, right, Sonia?
Yeah, I was in Beirut many times. I know it all. I know the areas there, Alhambra, the seaside, and
Amra, yeah.
yeah, sure. It's the most famous place, most expensive place. But sure, I know it all. That's
So,
amazing. It's amazing that he likes it, but not in a way, because now he experienced the real
yes,
people there, the Arabic people are very friendly, very kind, open, and the same with the Russian here. So that's when you are there, then you experience the country and the people. And
that's
that's
exactly right. And that's why I appreciate you talking to us about life in Moscow just on a daily basis, what people experience and think, because
Mhm.
I think it's so important to express to people what normal people are like in a country. You agree, Sonia?
Yeah, sure, because you can, as I said, you can speak about a country, you can see it on TV, in a documentary or whatever. But when you are really there and you speak to the people, like me, I'm trying to learn Russian now, and yeah, you can make small conversations already with the people, then you have a very different view. It's like with me, with Arabic countries, I speak Arabic, I can go around, speak to the people, you see their daily life, and that's apart from politics. You see how they go to work, their families, their children, their grandparents, and what they do in the weekend, for instance. The young ones, okay, they go out. Just like in Europe, the bit elderly ones, they visit each other. You see the culture, like they like barbecuing very much here in Russia. I mean, you think that's a thing from the US, but they like that here too. You can go to any park here. They are barbecuing, grilling there, the meat, and so that's very nice to see the culture. I always like to see culture from the people. Then you can understand the people.
Exactly right. Sonia, it's late where you are, so we'll let you go. But great conversation, and thanks so much for putting on with me coughing here.
Yeah, well, all the
Sonja
best.
Van all the best to you too, and we'll talk to you soon. Stay safe and have fun in Moscow. Sonja Van den Ende, Dutch journalist who's doing great work in Russia.
Thanks,
Thanks
Lee.
to her for another
Thanks.
great appearance. And we'll take a short break and be back on the backstory.
Thanks.